All right, ladies, good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Afternoon,
sir.
sir.
All right, we're at the end of it. Can you imagine 1 year has already expired? So for today's class, what I'm going to do, I would have sent you this document and I want to go through it with you. I know that the penmanship is horrible, but those of you who I've taught in fifth form, fourth and fifth form know about my penmanship. So you should use to it by now, correct? Right, Elliot?
Yes, sir.
Good, good. All right. So I hope you can, the document, you are able to go through it. But I know that we would have gone through some of these questions before, and I want to just go through some of these questions again. All right. All right. So when you get a question in the exam on the contribution of sports, you really don't know how they're going to bring the question. And so there are five past paper questions that we have on sports. And what I have done is that I have grouped the past paper questions together and I've given you some points how to develop those points. Now ensure that if you get a topic on sports, some key terms that you need to define within the body of your essay are terms like development, sports of course, human development, infrastructural development, empowerment, investment opportunities, educational opportunities, physical education, reduction in crime, uh, social mobility, regional recognition and identity, employment, health and fitness, also wellness and sports tourism. So if we look at these key terms, all of these terms we should be able to use in answering the question. Now in 2003 and 2017, they would have asked this question. Sports have made a major contribution to development in the Caribbean. To what extent do you agree with this statement? And then in 2017, they asked the question this way, examine the role of sports in regional development. Now, if you look at both of the questions, they are basically asking the same way, but it was phrased differently. Now, to what extent? Anytime you see an essay question that has to what extent, it means that you can either agree with the statement, you can disagree with the statement, or you can agree and disagree. You can be on what we in Jamaica we call both, right? So you could agree, disagree, or agree and disagree in your essay. Once you see the statement, to what extent, it is how you argue the point. Now, what are some of the points? Now, how sports contribute to development? Is it that it's a major contribution? Um, I'm not so 100% sure, but one thing we can argue is that it contributes to human development and it also contributes to infrastructural development and it also empowers people. Also investment and provide educational opportunity, right? It also helps with physical education, reducing crime, social mobility, it helps to create our identity, provides employment, it gives us wellness and fitness in terms of our health, and also sport tourism. So we know for sure if we look at all of these key terms right here, we can say for sure that it contributes to development, but is it a major? That is something you will have to decide. Now, one of the ways in which sports contribute to development is through generation of income. How it contribute to generation of income? One, small businesses. So in the essay, you need to define small businesses, what you mean by small businesses. Give examples of the small businesses like the informal businesses such as peddlers, vendors, those who sell soup, candies, jerk chicken, coconut water, all these different stuff. But you just don't go into the exam and say sports one contribution of sports to the Caribbean is the development of small businesses. Not only develop it, but it helps to for the survival of small businesses. You need to also state a reason why small businesses exist, especially peddlers and vendors, because there's a unemployment issue in the Caribbean. And so to solve that economic deficit in terms of unemployment, sports help to provide employment through small businesses for Caribbean people or people within the country, so personal income. Now, another way in which sports generate income is through the publication companies and the printing companies. Because if you're going to have a sporting event, as I would have mentioned at the last week Thursday, I believe, you're going to need sports manual. You need to send out your sports manual to all the different coaches. You need flyers. You need to print tickets. You need to print your jerseys. You need to print flags. And so it will provide funding for the publication sector. And those same money that the companies use, that they generate from sports, they can use it to help with publishing textbooks for schools at cheaper rates and all of these. So it will contribute to development. So the point I'm trying to make right here is that for all the different points that you're going to make in your essay, link it back to development. Just don't leave it high and dry, just like that. Link it back to development. Also, generation of income. Sports is going to contribute to the Caribbean or to our country through revenue. Government is going to generate revenue through sports. When the athletes, the professional athletes, because not all athletes receive a salary, if you're an athlete into school, you're not able, it is against sporting regulation for you to get a salary or to get sponsorship. Only so for the professional athletes that make a lot of money, they have to pay taxes. And so the government is going to make a lot of money from taxes. And also when you have sporting events for all the different clothing in terms of the jerseys and the different sportswear, the government, once a company sells those things, they have to pay taxes. So taxes are attached to sporting where you need shoes, you have to pay for you have to pay a tax on the shoes. Jerseys, you have to pay tax. Any little thing, leggings, trainers, any form of sports apparel, you have to pay tax on it. And so the government will make money from that revenue. Now, another way in which sports generate income is through the manufacturing sector. And these are the companies who are actually producing, making the different sporting sportswears for sporting anything relating to sports. So whether it is flag, whether it is gym top, whether it is trainers, whether it is sports apparel with your favorite team on it, swimming suit, leggings, football boots, suit, anything when it comes to that, they are producing. And if they are producing, they are doing something good for the economy, because that will contribute to our productive sector, and it will also contribute to employment. So you link the manufacturing sector back to development. The other day, this year I didn't see a lot of flags for champs, but guess what I saw on the road a lot? I saw, even Sunday when I went to Price Mart, I saw persons at the gate of Price Mart selling masks with a different school design on it. That was creative, making us, and people stop and they purchase after champs. People stop and they purchase the mask with the different stuff on it. So sports apparel, so that is very important. Now, another way in which sports generate income is through individual income, people making money, whether coach, medical doctors, nutritionists, and more so the athletes, the professional athletes, they are making an income from it. And you link individual income to social mobility. You're making money. You link it also to employment. People are moving up the social ladder as a result of sports. And these same persons are going to reinvest in the community, either reinvest in the same sports or reinvest in the economy. Let us look at Usain Bolt. Reinvest, he has made a lot of money and he reinvests his money back to the economy. How? Through, he has a restaurant. Also, he has the building that he rent out to the call center. Economy. So that building right across from your school is really, it improved the physical landscape of Halfway Tree. It make the place look developed. And yes, and he also reinvests to the sports. So he also support other athletes. And then and you're correct, Hunter, when you look at his community, his school, he gives back to his school, he gives back to his community that he is from. And not only him alone, but Shelley and Fraser. So when you're talking about individual income, you link that to development. How? The individual income is linked to development because they are reinvesting in either the economy, reinvest the same money in sports, reinvest the same money in the community, building the community. And then the media is going to make money from sports. And so when we look at that, we can talk about they are purchasing the rights to broadcast. You're going to see a lot of promotion and marketing of the sports. And they too, the media sometimes reinvest that money back into sports and reinvest that money into some form of community activity. Right? A portion of the money, not all of it, but a portion of it. And if the media house is making money, then they are able to employ more journalists. So that also helps with employment. So ladies, now there's a point I want to make here. This question that I'm answering right now, these questions, 2003 and 2017, broadly asks about the contribution of sports to the development. However, if you go into the exam and they ask you a specific question on how sports generate income, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 points here. 6 paragraphs to develop here. How sports help when it comes to the generation of income. However, if you get the broad question, you can look at generation of income as one, and you can maybe discuss 1 or 2 or 3 of these points under generation of income, because you don't want to spend the entire essay to write, develop only about the generation of income when there are other points that you can also develop. So generation of income, one way in which it contributes to development. Another way is sports tourism. And so we know for sure you need to define sports tourism. You need to talk about the different activities that people come to the Caribbean for. So like surfing, kiteboarding, sailing, scuba diving, snorkeling. And I was telling somebody the other class before that in the Cayman Islands, everywhere you go on the island, you drive through, you see some little red flags all over. The flag look like Trinidad flag. And it shows you that this is a scuba diving area. You can dive at this area because a lot of tourists come into the Caribbean to dive. In fact, I had a friend at university in Barbados that came to Barbados to study just for surfing, just because he wanted to surf. And people also come for sailing. The Caribbean Sea is perfect for sailing, scuba diving it, and snorkeling. You go and explore the nice coral reefs that we have. And so a lot of different events happen. And also countries have also lobbied the world to host like the Cricket World Cup. Caribbean countries host the Cricket World Cup. And we in Jamaica has hosted the World Track and Field Championship. And we have also in Jamaica hosted Carifta, right? And so from inviting people into the country when it comes, and then we have an annual sporting track and field meet, the Jamaica Track and Field meet, where every year we invite athletes from all over the world to compete in the meet. That's sports tourism. So how sports tourism contributes to development? You have to talk about the hotel industry that is going to provide short-term employment for hotel staff because you have so much people coming in for sporting events. You're going to need additional workers. The hotel rooms are going to be filled up. The hotels are going to make money from that. Then you also talk about the transportation sector, air travel, and also land travel. You need somebody from the airport to the hotel, from the hotel to the different events, sporting events, because sometimes the sporting events are all over the place. And from the sporting event to back to the hotel, and then from the hotel to explore the island. So a lot of taxis going to make money. A lot of bus companies going to make money from it. They're going to need more drivers. So they are making money from this. Transportation sector going to get a boost. So you could say that sports tourism boosts the transportation sector. It boosts the hotel industry. And even the small accommodation areas like the Airbnb and all of these different stuff, they're going to get a boost from it. When we have big sporting events, look at the other day at for champs. You need bus to take, if you camp at your school, you need bus to take you from your school to the stadium, from the stadium back to the school. And sometimes the buses make 2, 3, 4 trips for the day. That's money. And then some schools from rural Jamaica, they have to stay in hotels here or stay in some form of guest house in Kingston because they can't travel with the athletes from here to Petersfield in Westmoreland every single day for the event. So you have to look at that. So you can develop the point, one point about the contribution of sports tourism to the hotel industry, or it boosts the hotel industry and also it boosts the transportation sector. And then the next one is foreign exchange. What type of foreign exchange and what is the importance of foreign exchange to the economy? People coming in, you're going to get money. You're going to get US dollars and euros. What are the benefits of having US dollars? You use the US dollars to purchase goods abroad because we can't purchase goods abroad in Jamaican currency or Barbadian currency or the Eastern Caribbean dollar. You have to use US. Right? And also, Hunter, correct, you use the exchange, the foreign exchange to pay debt. We are indebted region. And so you need the foreign exchange to pay your debt. And the more foreign exchange we get from tourism, in a country like Jamaica, that the dollar depends on the availability of foreign currency, the value of the US dollar could decline because there's not a high demand. So a high demand of the US dollar increase the value against the Jamaican dollar. And also, you could talk, so before I go to that, so when you're talking about foreign exchange and sports tourism, link it back to development. Link to development, link to development. And the next one is revenue for government. Government going to get money. You have to pay hotel taxes, you have to pay accommodation taxes. If you drink a juice in the hotel, you have to pay a beverage tax. If you're coming in on the airplane, you have to pay departure tax and arrival tax. So the government is going to make a lot of money from revenue tax, from these different tax that is linked to tourism. People going to buy goods and things to take back. They're going to pay a little fee on it. So if we look at this topic again, the contribution of sports development, you could look at it. One, talk about the generation of income, mention maybe one or two of the points here. Then you can talk about sports tourism and mention one or two of the points under sports tourism. Two separate paragraphs, please. Same thing for here. However, if you get generation of income as one topic, then you have all of these to discuss. If you get sports tourism as a topic by itself, then you can discuss the contribution to the hotel industry, transportation, foreign exchange, and revenue for government. And even you can also add the attraction sites. So you have 4 points here. Now, another way in which sports contribute to development is also through national identity. So it helps with our national identity, how we define ourselves, our sense of belonging. So when our athletes, when they perform on the international stage, the publicity that they get from the performances shape our identity. We value ourselves, our national construct, based on their performances. Usain Bolt, Shelley and Fraser, whether you're in Grenada, Kirani James. In Barbados, they place a lot of emphasis on their cricket athletes there. They even have a national hero, Garfield Sobers, who is a national hero because of what he has done for cricket. Look at how sports, the impact of sports on our national pride. We feel good as Caribbean people. We feel good when our country performs well at the Olympics, because we are beating and we are defeating developed nations. Then also another way in which sports helps with development of the Caribbean or contribute is through our infrastructure. You're building stadiums and gyms and sports complexes and communities that have a lot of idle lands and bush, and they're going to remove those things and build nice stadiums and football fields and community parks, recreational areas. Then if we're going to host a sporting event of international nature, we're going to improve the road network. We're going to patch the roads and ensure that the sidewalks are well put together, because when people come to your country, you don't want them to go back and talk bad about your country. So you need to put on a show. If then come outside of the event time, then guess what? So be the case. But if you come when we are having the event, come on, we have to put on a show for them. Also, we have to look at, so you link that to infrastructural development, define infrastructural development, and how infrastructural development improve our physical landscape. Then also, another contribution of sports is that it helps with the fitness. It provides health benefits for the nation. What type of health benefit? Why health is a serious problem? Because in the Caribbean, we have a lot of chronic diseases, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, you name it. And so and the government has been spending a lot of money on medication and healthcare to treat chronic diseases. And so with exercise and different sports programs like Jamaica Moving School and the workplace, where they encourage us to exercise, 5 minutes walk, and all of these different stuff. This will reduce government spending on medication, and government can use that money to either improve another part of the health sector, either to pay more doctors and all of these different stuff. Then another is social programs. At-risk youth, so a lot of the government agencies use sports or put sports into community to protect youth who are at risk, who are maybe prone for violence and all of these different stuff, to get involved in gang, and that is going to cause crime and violence in the society. So you get them involved in sports to reduce crime, reduce them getting involved into drugs, reduce them getting involved into risky sexual behavior. And so sports, because look at it, when you go to track and field, or you go to your football match, you go to school in the day, you go to school from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And then you train from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. When you reach home at maybe 8 o'clock, you're so tired, you have no time to go on the road to get involved in any crime or risky behavior. Sometimes you don't have time to do your homework. You go to your bed, you wake up back the next day, you wake up early in the morning, maybe 3 o'clock to do the homework. You leave out by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, back at school. Very tight schedule. It teach you discipline. It teach you honesty and self-control and fair play. And so if we're going to look at the contribution of sports development, or the role of sports in regional development, we can look at regional income, look at the points, talk about 1 or 2, or 2 or 3. Sports tourism, 1 or 2. Talk about national identity, infrastructural development, health benefit, social programs. Sports as a social program, and it helps with development. All right. Now, another question is from 2006. To what extent do sports in the Caribbean provide educational opportunities for Caribbean people, as well as a route to Caribbean nationalism? Now, if you're going into the exam and you get a question like that, remember I said to what extent you can either agree or disagree with the statement, or you can agree and disagree at the same time. So you have to define sports, educational opportunities, and nationalism. Now, how sports is linked to education, educational opportunities. 1, sports is going to provide scholarship. So you have access to scholarship at the secondary school, access to higher education. especially for overseas university and even local universities. As in the class before, as students said that access to primary, not really access, but you get scholarship at the primary level to for sports. And a lot of families, especially people are from very poor families, they are able to move up the social ladder by getting scholarships to study abroad. And they are doing very, very well. Some of them come back, some remain abroad. I've seen boys from Jamaica College who we were in the same year group. Never, well, I'm not going to say that. But they are doing very well. Very, very well. Most of them would have received their sports scholarship because they were either involved in track and field or football. And they are doing very well in the US. I had a next door neighbor of mine that went to Holy Childhood. And I think she was in volleyball. And she got a scholarship to go up to the US. And she's doing very well in the United States. She's not playing volleyball now, but it was an opportunity for her to get a university degree. Not only sports is going to educational opportunity when it comes to scholarships, and you talk about the benefit of scholarships and why scholarships are important and the different background that these students are coming from. And the career development, it gives you the opportunity to go into different educational careers. So whether you want to do sports medicine or coaching, or you want to do sports nutritionist or something along that area, physiotherapist, educational opportunity, sports has developed several different career paths. Then also sports contribute to, not contribute, the sports provide educational opportunity through exposure and awareness of other cultures. When you travel to go Olympics and Carifta games or the intercollegiate games or pen relays, you're exposed to other cultures. Most people go on the plane for the first time because they go on pen relay. Most of them would never get the US visa unless they go to the pen relay and they get the US visa. Some people travel to the Caribbean for the very first time, and sometimes the only time in their life, because they go to a Carifta game. And so sports is going to provide that educational opportunity through exposure. And then sports colleges are going to develop, which provide another opportunity to study sports. So like GC Foster College and UTech Sports Program and the Faculty of Sports at UWI that was recently established. And then sports and nationalism. Okay, so if you get a topic on sports and education by itself, you could develop these points and add the ones that you have, right? I can't give an extensive list. I just can help you, guiding you through. We're developing the points. Nationalism. It's because the second part of the question that asks that sports is a route to Caribbean nationalism. You look at sports, how it influences our national image, the effect on our national pride, the publicity that our athletes get from their performances. And then we can look at sports in terms of our Caribbean identity. How sports shape our Caribbean identity. So when the athletes perform, especially when it comes to track and field in Jamaica, Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, listen, it's big celebration. A lot of people do, well, you might be in Jamaica, so you're not aware. But when somebody from Jamaica win on the world stage, either at an Olympic game or a world championship or a football match, other Caribbean countries celebrate. They claim the victory as theirs. When Grenada won the other day from the, what they call that? Kirani James, the entire Caribbean celebrate. Same thing with Barbados and Trinidad, and Cuba is in the mix. We still celebrate. I was in the Cayman Islands once for one of these games, and I had no idea that some Olympics, maybe some athletic championship was taking place. And I see the supermarket, big jubilation and celebration. And when I look on it, Jamaica won a race on the TV. People were celebrating. Same thing when I was in Barbados, big celebration. So we celebrate as the Caribbean. And so it builds our identity. And because we're doing well, whether for football, basketball, baseball, anything, swimming, universities abroad are going to come into the Caribbean to recruit our nationals. And not only universities, but various sports clubs, especially the football sports club and the cricket sports clubs, coming in to recruit our nationals. And they are making millions of dollars from those contracts. And then we can see sports as a form of decolonization or Caribbean or Black power. Because people used to say that Blacks were not good at sports. And because we're so underdeveloped, we really can't do well at sports. However, when we go and we win, and we defeat countries that have fed that lion myth, countries in North America and Europe, we feel good, we celebrate. It boosts our ego and our pride, and it also builds our confidence. So we have to look at sports, how sports contributes to Caribbean identity. Wow, we're almost there. 2007 paper. West Indian cricket once was the pride and joy of Caribbean sport fans worldwide, has in recent years lacked competitiveness in test matches. Assess the impact that lack of competitiveness will have on regional cricket in general and on the region's development specifically. So what are we going to look at here? We need to define the Caribbean or the West Indies cricket team. So we need to tell the examiner that the West Indies cricket team is a multinational men's cricket team representing the English-speaking Caribbean countries. They give examples of members who are part of the cricket team. Give a little small history about West Indies cricket. That cricket was a British sport that was exported to the Caribbean by the British. That the cricket clubs were formed in the Caribbean, that originally Blacks were not permitted to play cricket in the Caribbean in the early colonial period, that cricket was used as a civilizing mission to train up the young boys and men in the society to be the future leaders in the society. Females were not permitted to play cricket, or it was not encouraged, it was not considered ladylike. And because from the 1900s, the entire Caribbean has come together to play cricket as one team. So you have members from Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana, St. Vincent, St. Kitts. When we go on the world stage, we go on the world stage as the West Indies, as the Caribbean cricket team. So according to Sailor James, cricket represents the epitome of integration. So when we go on the track field, when we go to the Olympics, we go as separate different nations. But when we go to the Cricket World Cup, we go as one Caribbean against England. We go as one Caribbean against Australia. India. But when we go to the World Cup, we go as Jamaica, Barbadian, Trinidadians. So cricket is the epitome of integration. In fact, the West Indies report of West Indian Commission report of 1997, it said that no West Indian can afford to underestimate or neglect the game. It is an element in our heritage which binds us close and is seen as such both by ourselves and the outside world. So when the question asks us now, based on that background information that I've given to you, how the lack of competitiveness in test matches impact regional development in cricket and on the development of the Caribbean overall, how the lack of competitiveness is going to do. And when we talk about lack of competitiveness, we're talking about we are not winning as we used to win. So there's a decline when it comes to winning. How that decline is going to impact the sports. How? And so when we talk about the decline, we can talk about one, if they are not winning, they are not going to get sponsors. People not going to sponsor the team. Corporate bodies not going to sponsor the team. They're not going to sponsor anything that they are not making money from. Hilary Beckles said that cricket in the West Indies is so dependent upon sponsorship of foreign corporations. And if we are not getting that form of money in terms of sponsorship, it is going to decline, and the interest in cricket in the Caribbean will decline significantly, and that can negatively impact integration. Same thing with, if you're not getting sponsorship, who is going to pay the athletes? And if they have problem in paying the athletes, cricket athletes are going to decide that, listen, we are going to play other sports like track and field and football that have more attractive salaries. Because this is about money. Usain Bolt said that he wanted to be a cricket fan. His first love is cricket. But he decided that he would go into track and field because track and field, they make a money quick, hard work, not pretty, very, very hard work. But he becoming the fastest man in the world. Trust me, he makes a lot of money from that. And you have to look at because cricket is declining, there's a popularization of other sports like track and field and football, where you have a larger funding available to these. And then you have to look at maybe like countries like Jamaica and Barbados and Trinidad and Grenada, don't know about the other countries, where they have their own mini Olympic in the form of the track and field championship, high school track and field championship. So every school is involved, and it is so popular, way popular than cricket, make a lot of money. And then another reason for the decline of cricket is that Caribbean countries, they have weak economies, so they don't have the money to pay the cricketers. And since we get our independence, we are really not spending a lot of image on national identity, well, regional identity, but we tend to focus on sports that represent the individual states. So we tend to focus more on track and field, because when you go to the Olympic, you go as Jamaican. Versus when you go to the Cricket World Cup, you go as the West Indies. When you go to the tennis championship, they go as a Jamaican or Trinidadian. Same thing with swimming meet, and they say your image, your national image around independence is linked with these different sports. And because they're so popular and the impact of North America on our culture, we tend to have less interest in cricket. Another question that they could ask, or they have asked before in 2009, is to discuss 4 challenges that are faced by Caribbean government in using sports as a means of facilitating development, right, in the region. So one challenge that Caribbean government really faces that Caribbean governments face is that one, there's a heavy emphasis in the Caribbean on academic pursuit. They think that people who play sports are not brilliant, and parents actually discourage their child from playing sports. And so that is a serious problem. So all the very good athletes, even if they are so academically inclined, they are not able to participate, and the government is not able to develop the different sports, develop sports in the region, because parents are discouraging very good athletes from participating in sports. Now, for me, my father was involved in sports. He was a football, well, wasn't a full-time job as a football coach, but he helped out with the community football and high school football for girls. And so I used to go to a lot of football matches as a child with my father. But one of the things that turned me off from football as a child is that I never want to go to football matches. Why? Because when I used to go to football match every minute, then those times they used to have sodas in glass bottles, not the plastic bottles, glass bottles. And so when a team lose, both teams fling in glass bottles and you have to be hiding. Stadium, same thing. I go to a reggae boys match at the stadium, same thing. I went to one of those football match already with the inter-island football competition. At the end of the match, one only per fighting. And then my house was right across the football field where I grew up. And at the end of the match, every single evening I would sit at my gate watching them playing football. But I can assure you that at the end of the football match, one big fight going to take place. And so because of that, I keep my distance away from football because I don't want nobody beat me up. I cannot fight, so I don't want nobody beat me up. Surely, sometimes if they don't do well academically, they are prohibited from participating. And that is something that has recently happened. Recently, that rule came in recently, but back then that wasn't the case. But you're correct. And sometimes some athletes are not doing well academically. It's not like Camille Hunter, who is doing well academically and well in sports. And when I was going to school, there was a young man in my class. We never talked. We weren't friends. But for every single sport he used to play, and he was doing very well academically. He was in cricket, he was in football, he was in swimming. And he was absent quite a lot, especially during his CXC years, but he did very well. And he went abroad, he got a scholarship to study abroad. He's now back in Jamaica. And also there's a popular view in the Caribbean that sees sports as leisure time. And another challenge that governments face in the Caribbean is that faces in the Caribbean is the competing demand from other sectors. So should we take our money to invest in sports, or should we take that money to pay teachers, or should we take that money to fix the hospital or fix the road? And there's a lack of private sector support. It is way better here in Jamaica where we have more private sector supporting sporting events, but in the smaller islands, in the Caribbean, even though they are wealthy, places like the Cayman Islands, the private sector hardly support the sporting event. Yes, like Grace and Digicel, they have been doing well. And Flo, I believe, with West Indies cricket, and recently Sandals with West Indies cricket. And so there's a lack of private sector support. Maybe you could have more. Some private sector have been doing it, but in some territories it is absent. And then also, universities over a long time has not provided programs in terms of to develop sports management and specialists. It's up to, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, UWE started a sports program there. So you generally have students who want to do sports and study sports at the university level. Now people can study sports, do a master's in sports, bachelor's, PhD in sports. Back then you didn't have it, but now you can do a PhD in sports and masters and all of these different stuff. And when you go to university, you do different courses in sports. My wife at UWE, she teach a course on sports and I think the decolonization of sports and culture, something to that effect at UWE, where she linked the different culture and sports and how sports contribute to Caribbean culture and all of these different stuff. And when I was at UWE, we did a course there that was called The History of West Indies Cricket. Now they have a course, the history of football, the history of track and field. So they decide to go and do history at UWE. You're not going to only learn about slavery, and which is good. Learning about slavery is good, but you're going to get a lot more history, like history of all of these sporting events. So now the university is offering these things, but because there was an absent, that also contribute to a lot of the challenges that Caribbean governments face when it comes to sports. All right, ladies, I think I've covered everything on sports. How do you think? You're all right with the points so far?
Yes, sir. Very extensive.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Good. So only thing you need to do is to add to these points. And if you want to change it up and fix it up, you're a different way for the exam. But these are the only questions that they have asked over the years. And I've tried to give you all the points. So despite the penmanship, that the penmanship is terrible, that was the only way I could do it quickly. When I write, I get things done faster than stuff.
Thank you, sir.
All right. And then also, ladies, so when we meet tomorrow, so we are finished now with sport. When we meet tomorrow, we're going to look at the role of media. And we're going to use tomorrow class to look at media. And then we'll return on Wednesday, we're going to look at social justice. And you would have already done media already in the common hour and social justice. But I love to teach, to go back over what is done in the common hour in the individual class. So I know that you're comfortable with it. All right, ladies. So see you tomorrow when we look at the role and functions of media in the Caribbean.
Bye, sir.
Okay, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
sir.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Sir.